Well, here's an interesting question because you brought this up. I think this will be an interesting question. Let's say you have $1 million and you have to pick one of two things: either Berkshire Hathaway and you're trusting Buffett, or one of the Magnificent Seven. And as you said, Carlos, they're kind of turning into value companies that might lose market share over the next 10 years. Would you? Let's assume Berkshire is going to be a while for like another decade. Would you put your money in Berkshire or one of the Magnificent Seven?
Well, Berkshire is like a proxy for Apple.
Buffett. Yeah, Berkshire is a proxy.
But I know he's part of Apple, but still, he has the Kraft.
But you also get See's candy.
Like it's not the worst thing in the world to give that money to Buffett and trust it versus giving it to Nvidia or Tesla, right?
I see. You should say if you had one stock to put in for like 50 years, like it'd be hard to say I just put it all into Tesla because I think in 10 years it'd be great, but I don't know what happens in 50 years. But I don't know. I can't see Amazon going away. I can't see Amazon going away that soon.
Would you give it to Buffett or pick one of the seven? That's the
question. First of all, we don't even.
This is something that VITALY, whenever we talk about, have our conversations about Apple and Meta, which, by the way, VITALY, at some point, let's release the debate video that we did. We did a great debate on our Patreon where we debated back and forth like the future of Apple versus Meta. It was a good debate. But whenever we go back and forth, well, how many Apple shares do you have? How many Apple shares? Look, I made a fuck ton of money on Apple. Apple gave me leveled up my life in a certain way where I wouldn't have had certain things in my life today if I didn't have Apple. Yeah, basically, it got me what I needed to get this house. But my point is, the reason I don't buy Apple right now is because I'm doing the same sort of thing. I moved a lot of that money out to the short and medium term growth plays. But I absolutely expect to buy into Apple. I'll tell you right now, when Bitcoin hits my numbers, when Tesla hits my numbers, to your point, Amit, say it's $1 million. It's not putting $1 million in Apple, but there'll be 250,000 out of that $1 million would go into Apple.
Okay, so if you had to pick, would you give it to Buffett or would you give it to Apple then?
I would give it to Apple.
Okay, Chris, would you give it your $1 million to Buffett or would you pick one of the seven that we?
I'd give it to Google. Google, baby.
Give it to Google. Okay, VITALY, what would you do?
If it was 50 years or 100 years?
No, this is even right now.
No, 10 years it would be like Google or Amazon. 50 years it'd probably be Buffett.
Interesting. Okay. I was just putting a ball in Palantir. It would be very simple.
That's interesting. There's, I forgot who it was. We were debating on Twitter about Buffett, and I don't know. I got to even see if that person must have got angry at me. But I said I don't think if Buffett doesn't see the Tesla story. We were talking about this, right? Someone was saying, when is Buffett gonna come around to some of the newer companies right now? And if Buffett misses the Tesla story, I don't think you can crown him as the GOAT. I just can't see how you can be considered the greatest.
Well, who would be the GOAT over Buffett? If Kathy, like who's getting the GOAT?
I don't know that anyone would necessarily be the.
No, let's say you have to give someone the greatest investor of all time. Like, I still think Buffett wins even if he doesn't get Tesla.
Well, you have to look at return. You have to look at the overall returns, and you also have to look at what were the calls. How early did they call a company, and how much did it grow from the point that they?
I know, but even if he doesn't get Tesla, I still think he's up there.
Right? He's up there in terms of his returns. But he was also, at the time he started investing, it was like Coca-Cola, GE. It's like
I don't care what you picked, he got returns. That's what matters, right?
Sure, but would he like?
Have you ever seen a chart, Buffett's chart? Like he's made more money in his 70s than you did through the last 60 years. So Buffett is fine. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, no, he's fine. George Soros.
Thanks for the super chat, Blake. Appreciate you, man.
I think there was another one too. Did you mention the other one too?
Oh yes, I got to
mention all of them.
David, if there was a Star Wars trivia contest, who would win? Amit versus VITALY versus Chris versus the other guy?
Oh, dude, it would be me. I'm a Star Wars super fan.
Trivia contest.
Yeah, I hate Star Wars.
Ask any question, David. I'll answer you.
I wouldn't even
other guy. What do you think?
When I was young, there was like the Star Wars camp and the Star Trek camp. Right?
Star Trek is better.
That was like the Genesis, Nintendo, the whatever, Coke, Pepsi. I'm team Star Trek every day.
Star Trek, yes.
Every day.
Okay, real quick, one more question.
I know team Star Trek.
I'm gonna share Chris's screen and he'll talk, but a question for the chat. So someone asked me this in my Palantir live stream the other day. They said, which of the 4 junkies would be the best president of the United States of America? So put in the chat what you think. I think it's me.
Carlos.
I think it's obviously me.
I think it's Carlos, not you.
I think it's obviously me.
You're not even allowed. You're not even. No one's even allowed to vote for you for another 10 years.
Vote for me. Vote for me if you want no bullshit.
You got.
Well, I honestly think it's me. Like I would be the best president.
You think that they actually do that poll? I want to see who thinks that would be the best.
Okay, I really think it's me. Like I just think I can be a good president.
I'll tell you guys my platform very quickly. All right.
Oh,
Blonde haired, blue eyed girls
I knew it.
with big tits for everybody. All right. For
All right.
everybody.
By the way,
So,
you know, yesterday
there
the
you
YouTube
go.
video had limited monetization.
did you put a link?
Today.
Did you put a link? Hey, did you put a link? It's like questions or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris, go ahead. I'm doing it right now.
No, okay, so if you look at Berkshire Hathaway, right, in terms of like overall performance for the last 5 years, you know, they have actually performed as good as Meta has, and Meta's still in recovery mode. But for the most part, they're underperformed by a significant margin, you know. So just saying, you know, at the end of the day,
Wait,
Buffett,
you're saying, wait, you're saying that Buffett has underperformed by a significant margin?
yeah, yeah. He's up only 73% over the last 5 years, right? I know plenty of investors that are up 200% this year, right? His
Yeah, but hold on. When you're
claim to fame is
managing
longevity.
like when you're managing
Right,
like
no, no.
250 billion or whatever he's
Exactly.
managing.
No. What I'm saying is his biggest thing is longevity. That's his thing. There is one thing I did want to talk to you guys about, and it's something that was very curious from Peter Lynch. When you invest, one of the things that we're doing right now that's actually awesome that I didn't realize that we were doing was that we're challenging each other's narratives, right? So when right now we talk about a stock, you know, each of us has a say in it. Now, of course, the decision isn't necessarily tied to the groupthink thing, but there's an experiment where actually when people invest as a group, they do a lot better than when they invest as individuals. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Oh yeah, there you go. Come on, guys.
I was in the lead right
Listen,
before you.
Chris would act like speaking truthfully. I think Chris would be.
No, Chris would do option
be-
spreads on the GDP
on the damn
Chris
country.
would, like
No, but I think I think a lot of it just comes down to it's just temperament, and it's more about because you don't know what a president's going to face when they come into office. So you have to ask yourself who do I appreciate the way that they think or the way that they arrive to their conclusions, because that's what's going to be front and center when something happens. Temperament. A lot of it has to do with temperament and how that person arrives to the decision.
Have you seen Trump? Temperament.
I know Vitaly's going to announce solar subsidies the day he's in office.
Solar subsidies for all. Bring up Jackalope FPV. I like his comment if you see it.
Where is he?
Oh my gosh.
No. Before that.
That's awful. That's awful.
But back to the
the
original.
oldest, whitest guy. It makes sense.
But back to what I was saying with regard, like Buffett would not be where he is today if it wasn't for Munger being his second, like number two. Because even he says it. Like there's plenty of investment decision had Charlie not been there, I would have made terrible decisions. Yeah. And Charlie is probably like the voice of reason. So I think when we're investing right now, as like the four of us talking about it, you guys are the voices of reason for me too, because sometimes I'm like, you know what? I have this narrative. If I can convince these guys, then I think I've won. But if I can't convince these guys, then it probably means that I should probably second. Well, at least
I think if you listen to Munger talk, Munger is probably the most cutthroat and most level-headed of them all.
Yeah.
Of all of them. He's got as much as people give Warren a lot of credit, and he's got some great like Warrenisms. Munger is a sniper, man. That dude's super fucking
he cuts
smart.
through the bullshit. He cuts through the bullshit.
Super fucking smart.
Yeah.
He really lives in fucking reality. There's some things that I don't agree with, like a lot of like their take on Tesla, like their take on crypto. But this goes to the I think what we were saying, like a president maybe shouldn't be maybe more than 75 years old because they're too far disconnected from the youngest generation that they are governing over. And so you get into a bit of that. It's like, hey, the guy was alive at a time when like none of this was even possible, like, or even considered. So you got to give him that. He's an old guy. Like as smart as he is, he's still an old guy.
You know, because of that super chat, I'm going to give one thing. So everyone keeps asking me, Chris, why do you have Darth Vader as the picture in the background, right? Without going too far into it, the dichotomy of Star Wars is that the good guys are actually the bad guys and the bad guys are actually the good guys. It just depends on the time frame which you're talking about. So if you think about like the Jedis, and no one embodies this better than Anakin Skywalker, who ends up going into Darth Vader and then goes back to Anakin. Because if you think about the Star Wars universe, the Jedis are supposed to be the good guys, but they're the ones that are kidnapping children, taking them away from their parents and indoctrinating them into this groupthink where you're not allowed to think for yourself. It's like, no, you need to give up everything around. And so Anakin, think about it. Slave mom, they rescued him. They couldn't go back and put her in like an apartment on Coruscant. Like, so they literally have these policies that are just really destructive to the individual, because they're like, you need to forget about the individual and only focus on
the group,
on like the group.
Communists,
the dark side,
all of them.
well, no, that's socialist. Yeah.
And the dark side, they're technically the bad guys and all those, but they're actually
AMIT is like, what's Star Wars?
Bro, I literally have zero clue what you're talking about.
He's
Right?
But
walking around. Anakin, who's Anakin?
Yeah. Now the dark side encourages you to be more like, hey, listen to your passion, be more like, but the thing is, they go way too far and they become like fucking uber capitalists, and then they end up becoming go into fascist, right? Yep. But then what ends up happening is people end up trading their freedom for safety, because that's what you get under the Empire. You're safe, apparently, compared to the Jedis, who are more like on the other side of things. So that whole dichotomy. But the reason why I love Anakin or now Darth Vader is because that's a perfect embodiment of someone like my own personality, where when I was growing up, I used to be very liberal. Dude, I would say I was a bit of a socialist. Like in high school. We
all start out liberal as kids.
Yeah.
And we end up Republicans as adults.
Of course. Of course.
But that's what it is. That's what it is. I vote. I try to be the good guy.
Not on my lawn. All right. That's all.
But sometimes you gotta be. But sometimes you gotta be the bad guy. So right now, that's what I love about Vader.
So a while ago, Michael Wilder posted something. He said, in voting for me, Carlos president, Amit VP, Vitaly, and KRIS in the Congress. So my question to you guys: if each of you will say voted the president, and you had to pick the other, you had to utilize the other three in your cabinet, what positions would you give the other three in your cabinet?
I would give.
So you're president. Each one of you answered as if you're president. Who's your VP? And then what would you delegate to the other two to be?
I would
really
make
struggling
Amit,
with this one.
Yeah. I would make Amit the vice president, because he's the most useless person in the vice presidency.
And also,
military commander, right?
You also know
it's right of war.
I thought you were actually I thought you were a speechwriter or something.
No.
It's that Carlos Mencia joke. It's like that's a surefire way to guarantee you're never assassinated. Because
I'm press secretary. That makes sense.
No, I would be a fire press secretary, bro. It's literally talking to I talk all day. Like that would be great.
I'd make Vitaly the head of Department of Energy, so he could get the solar panels done.
I kind of like this,
and
I definitely would insider trade.
I'd probably nominate Carlos to be like Speaker of the House. Well, I can't really nominate.
The thing is, you need a VP. You need a VP. So one person's your VP, and then delegate someone cabinet positions to the other two.
Yeah, he made me the VP.
So for you, Amit would be your VP, and Vitaly's your Secretary of Energy.
Yep.
Man, I would fix this country fast.
And insider trading will be and Vitaly will be on trial in front of Congress within a year.
Yeah. What? I
made $1 billion in options. It was a total fluke.
Carlos would be in charge of Department of Justice. This way he could go after fucking Facebook and Meta.
I would end up prosecuting Vitaly.
Jesus. Yeah, but we both made it. I made Tesla and Enphase number one.
I'm telling you, I was really struggling with this. I think if I was president, I would probably take KRIS as my VP. I would probably, like you said, I would probably make Amit the press secretary, because he'd be able to give people the bad news and they would kind of like him for it. Like he would just be like, "Hey, we have to go blow up some people." You know, got to break a couple eggs.
He's like, "My guy."
My counter's up today, so.
And I'd probably make Vitaly not Secretary of Energy, but Secretary of State.
You think
go out there to
can
the
do
world?
Diplomacy? You think?
Yeah, no, I actually think so. Yeah, and honestly, it's a lot of like it's like you're running a corporation, okay? And the reason why I would have Vitaly be Secretary of State is because if Vitaly's on your side and your interests are aligned with Vitaly, he will fight for your best interest. I would say he would not be corrupted.
But if they're not, he's going to curse you out.
He would not be corrupted.
He knows how to defend his shit
by another country. I don't think there's anything another country would be able to offer him to compromise him You understand? I think he would go
That's
in there and be
true.
like, no, there's no fucking like.
All
He
have
would
to
go
do
there
is
and
give him
literally.
empty chairs.
Yeah.
But
But
Dude,
you,
if you want-
with you, I'm not so sure.
Head of
If
VR and
dude,
pools.
I could see Vitaly playing hardball with some of the other countries. Be like, hey, listen, what's going on with that national debt? You know, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
You know, but in essence, basically, he's telling them to go fuck themselves. You know, because that's who I think.
All right,
he could
can I
drive.
just share?
Yeah.
We only have a couple of minutes, so you guys
Yeah.
can continue this afterwards.
Yeah, we have 5. I got to be out at 8.
I just want to show solar. I finally bought Solar Edge. I just want to admit that. But I did a synthetic long where you sell the put, you buy the call, blah blah blah. I just want to show the Solar Edge chart for a second.
All right, show us the color.
I think it's
I would
interesting.
absolutely ring the cowbell to start every press meeting.
And then also you have to, Vitaly, you have to answer. I'm curious what your answer.
Whoa!
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 Shit.